Hello, I'm Drake. Welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we discuss real, metaphysical, and occult knowledge so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. This week, we're going to discuss the Norse Goddess Freyja, so stay tuned. This week, long overdue I'm sure, we're going to talk about the Norse Goddess Freyja. Many of you know last year I did a video on the goddess Hel, as well as the god Odin from Norse mythology. And I'll make sure both of the videos are linked up here. Now, when I done those videos, I had planned to continue through and do a video for Freyja. Because as many of you who watch Research and Ramblings on Fridays with me, live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll know that I work a lot with Freyja. She's one of the primary entities I do work with. So, I will say I am sorry that this video has taken so long, and I do feel bad about that. I wanted to get it out far sooner, because this is a goddess I truly do love. Now, later in the video, I will be actually sharing with you you can call it a prayer, a conjuration, a calling, whatever, that I've used when working with Freyja for the last 10 plus years. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Alright, so who is Freyja? Freyja is one of the Norse goddesses, and most often people know her as a goddess of love and beauty. And she is indeed that. But she's also far, far more. I find that a lot of modern practitioners have really distilled her down to those two words, and they just kind of forget about her. Truth of the matter is, Freyja is one of the Vanir goddesses. These are gods and goddesses that they're very linked and attached to magic and creation of life itself. Some believe that they actually predated the Aesir. But we don't have anything within the lore to say one way or the other. All we do know is that there was indeed a war at one point between the Aesir and the Vanir. And some even believe that the entity or sorceress who started that war actually might have been Freyja, though going by another name. And the reason for this is because in the myth, she's burned like 3 times, and all 3 times she rises back up and steps out of the flames unharmed. And this is a very shamanic-like practice that you're seeing here. And since Freyja is the master of seed work, or Seidr magic, depending on how you pronounce it, I'll be pronouncing it seed, they do actually suspect that this was indeed Freyja in disguise. Now, at the end of the war, Freyja and her brother Freyr was one of the gods that went to live with the Aesir as part of the peace agreement. So, a little bit about Freyja, just to go ahead and get some of the facts out of the way. As I said before, she is considered master of seed magic. Now, this is a very potent form of trance magic, and it is very similar in many ways, if not always, to shamanic style trance and journey work. In seed magic, you learn to enter a trance and journey through the worlds and dive into the very web of the weird and make alterations to the web that will affect reality and fate itself. It's that a seed worker can actually manipulate the present and the future, and even, to some extent, the past. So it's a very potent and powerful form of magic, and it wasn't uncommon for a seed worker to be utilized in times of battle or conflict to curse, hinder, or bind up the enemy or the other town that you were warring with. Now, in the myths, Freyja is married to a shadowy figure named Od. And Od used to go out and travel a lot. And then one day he failed to return. And this is one of the more tragic points that we see in her tale, because she goes out searching all the realms for her husband, though we never see him return, we never see her able to find him. And it is for this reason, and the tears that she sheds for Ode are sometimes referred, or is sometimes considered to be the source of amber. Now we do know that amber comes from satin now, but that they used to be often referred to as Freyja's tears. Now, I did say that Freyja was a goddess of love and beauty. She is. But she is also a goddess of war and magic. And yes, that whole war goddess aspect is something that is glossed over by a lot of people these days. Some people, mostly your seed workers and whatnot, will actually recognize her as a goddess of magic. Her and Odin are considered two of the top magic users in the Norse pantheon. Though when it comes to seership and divination, Frigg falls in there a bit, but she never tells what she knows. That's one thing. And of course, we all know Loki, quite possibly one of the most well-known magic users, especially in modern times. But Odin and Freyja definitely hold those top spots and were probably two of the most worshipped in cases of magic. And they both traded their knowledge to the other for training and mastery of the other's art. So both of them are workers of seed magic, and both of them are workers of runic magic, which we will get into both of those practices later in another video. Now, as a war goddess, in the myths, in the legends, and in a lot of the gnosis that I've had when working with her, she has no problem starting fights or wars to achieve her goals. She's a great chess player. She will move the pieces around intelligently and tactfully to achieve a goal. Now, because of this, we do see this. There's some people who say Freyja never directly enters a fight. I have found this to be absolutely false. I have full on seen her stroll straight into a fight and just go all out on an opponent, and it is a fascinating thing to watch. Part of her position as a war goddess is she's actually queen of the Valkyries. She is the head ruler of the Valkyries, which gives her that association with death as well, not just war. And when the Valkyries collect the chosen from the battlefield, Freyja actually gets 50% of the chosen fallen to enter and stay in her hall. Now, the Eddas never really tells us what they do in her hall, though as a battle goddess, it is fair to assume that much like the Einhelmjord, or the ones who go to Valhalla in Odin's hall, that they continue their lives as warriors in the next life. Freyja also has a chariot that is drawn by two cats, so she is linked to cats quite a bit. And it's one of the softer sides of her we do see, that cat goddess. It's always, cats do pop up a lot with goddesses tied to magic, and Freyja is no different. And her cats do pull her chariot. Now, I've heard people say that when they've seen them, they're the size of house cats. I've never seen that. Every time I've seen these cats, they have been the size of like tigers or even larger. And they have been pulling her chariot, which to me always reminded me of a war chariot. This was a chariot that was built for battle, which again makes sense because we're seeing that war goddess aspect to her. And I'm not trying to downplay her aspects of love and beauty at all, don't get me wrong. It's just so many people talk about those. I do want to reiterate and bring the characteristics that few people talk about up front and point those out. Now, Freyja is also tied to shape-shifting in a few ways. First off, she owns a cloak that allows her to shape-shift into a falcon. In one of the myths, Loki himself actually borrows this cloak. But in one of the tales within the Volspa, Freyja, going by another name, actually is seen, and therefore we know that she has some shape-shifting abilities of her own because of this, because she is appearing before Odin as someone else. Though we are aware it is Freyja because she admits to Odin that she taught him the powers of seed magic. So it is at that point where she's giving her identity to Odin, essentially. If you want to work with Freyja, what are some offerings you can give her? Well, you can always go with gemstones and shinies. She does love beautiful things. One of her most prized possessions is the necklace. Is a necklace which I honestly cannot pronounce. Tell you what, I'll put the name here, and you can try to pronounce that one yourself. So any type of shiny jewelry or whatnot, if you want to, you can offer that to her. If you want to keep a piece of amber on your altar when you're working with her, that's great. Personally, for offerings, I find that she just adores the simple things, the common courtesies that you might give someone you care about. So obviously food and drink definitely top this list. And yes, alcoholic beverages are loved, wines and such. In my experience, she loves mead and white wines. I was expecting her to be more of a red wine girl, but turns out she tends to like the white wines. Though I have noticed she enjoys sweet wines as opposed to dry wines. If any of you have worked with Freyja and if you noticed a slight difference in that shift, do let me know. I've always wondered if her preferences might actually shift from practitioner to practitioner. But so far, between the people I've talked to, this seems to be pretty common. Now, foods, I've noticed her to not be an overly picky eater, though she does tend to like meat. And I guess that's that warrior aspect coming out. She really does like that meat. From here, let's talk about Freyja and working with her. Over the years, yes, she is a war goddess. Yes, she wants you to be strong of mind, body, and spirit. So in a lot of ways, she will push you. And she will push you to strive to be better every day in your life. And part of that will be through your magic and through self-improvement, even shadow work, as we've talked about before on this channel. She will push you to face all those hardships. Now, one reason that a lot of people work with Freyja and enjoy working with her is that love and beauty do come into this. She does have a more loving, caring, compassionate, almost mothering-like personality to her. So yes, she is this strong warrior goddess, and she will push you to improve. But she does so in a slightly more gentle manner than many other goddesses might. Now, one caveat to that I want to add, and I made this mistake. Because she had that mothering aspect, because she had that compassionate side, I didn't move fast enough for her, in her opinion. And I'll be honest, I put the work completely to the side. So if you do that, she will drop the compassion and go full drill sergeant on you. And believe me, you don't want full drill sergeant, because when she goes full drill sergeant, she ain't playing. It's time to get to work, and she will just hammer you until you get it done. So yeah, it's best to work with her steady and progressively and get those results. And keep that loving, compassionate side of her than to have her go full drill sergeant. Because when she does that, there's no excuses left. She's going to push and push and push. And if you're not doing the work, she's going to find a way to make it happen one way or the other. Like I said, she has no problem starting a war to meet the goal. So if the goal and that you and her are working on is improving you, she may start a war in your entire life and make everything go to chaos. And your only option of survival is to rise up, meet those goals, and improve, thus overcoming the obstacle and reaching the goal. That is totally within her personality, and it's something that people overlook and that does tend to get them in a little bit of trouble with Freyja. And there are people who honestly, they approach her as just a love and beauty goddess, and they just see that compassionate and caring side, and then they can't figure out why Freyja is not giving them blessings or helping them in their life. And that's because they really want a nice, cushy, easy road, and Freyja's not about that. Freyja wants that self-sufficiency. She wants you to have that strength. She wants you to be able to do for yourself, not to have to rely on others. That independent streak is truly important to Freyja. So before you work with her, do be mindful that she will try to push you to true independence and self-sufficiency, or as far as you can get within your modern life. And I don't say this to try and scare you off of it, because actually the opposite. I love working with her, and she is one of the most kind and caring goddesses that I have worked with. In fact, most of the time when we're just sitting and chatting, she is a very soft, compassionate, warm, just loving side about her. She's great company to be around. And she's more than happy to sit, talk, joke, chat, share her wisdom and her knowledge in such a comfortable fashion that honestly it's like you're talking to someone very, very close and dear, whether it be a family member, even a lover. I mean, it's that kind of just intimate, close connection. And for me, that's one of the best parts about it. Yes, there are those hard parts. Yes, there is the dirty work, the nitty and gritty. But most of the time, as long as you are doing the work, when you call on her, when you sit down to talk with her, you're going to get that compassionate, that caring side, that nurturing side. So I do encourage anyone interested in Norse magic to take the time to do a ritual, get to know Freyja, and work with her, and build a friendship with her, and get her help in making your life better, and teaching you and helping you build the life you want. Now, with that said, how do you start to work with Freyja? Well, you take into consideration everything we've covered in this video. Also, be sure to check out our video on contacting an entity or a deity. I'll go ahead and tag it here too. But the Norse gods and goddesses are simple. You can do a very simple hailing prayer, very reminiscent to the hailing rite, which I do know, I've got all your messages, everyone wants me to do a detailed description of the hailing rite. I will do it, but not in this video. I'm going to give it its own video so we can really go deep on that hailing rite for y'all. But I did promise you the prayer or calling that I have used for the last 10 years and has worked marvelously for me. So let's go ahead. So it's very simple, but it calls to her in all those aspects to bring her attention and draw her presence to the area. Hail Freyja, goddess of love and beauty, queen of the Valkyries, goddess of war and magic, guide me, teach me, so I can better myself and those around me. Hail Freyja, hail Freyja, hail Freyja. Now, normally what I will do if I'm just doing a simple working, maybe giving an offering to her, or maybe asking her blessing, is I will say this little quick prayer 3 times, do the working I need to do, and go on. More often than not, what I like to do is to say this particular calling 3 times, and then I will sit and meditate and listen for any messages, information, whatever it is that she wishes to tell me, if anything. If nothing else, I just take that time and spend it in her presence. Because if you've said this 3 times, truly calling out to her, her presence will be in that room with you. No doubt. Every student I've worked with has had results with this simple calling. Now, this is not a full evocation, which I do often do evocation work with her, but this is a great place to get started, and you can easily transition this exact working over to evocation if you know evocation. But for the beginner, this is the best place to start. You can easily do this calling 3 times, Sit down, do your working, your spell work, meditate with her, ask her questions, receive answers. I mean, it's amazing that this simple calling can get you such a strong connection with such a wonderful goddess. Now, in case you're wondering what kind of things you might work with Freyja with, obviously matters of love and beauty. Those are the most popular. If you are dealing with a conflict in your life, the word war covers conflicts of all kinds. So any conflict that you may be facing, she is excellent to help work with. Obviously, if you're interested in learning magics and working within Norse magic in general, she's a fantastic goddess to work with. Her specialty is in seed work, so that's going to be the strongest area for her. Though she can guide you also in runic magic and Gilderstaff magic. Though, honestly, for runic magic, I highly would recommend Odin also, because that's his specialty. And I think you should really work with him if you truly want to get as deep as you can into runic magic. Of course, her connection to the dead and the spirit world will help you to, if you want to do any spirit work. Her connection with seed magic also helps that, because you can wander the different planes and realms using seed work to work with different entities to gain more knowledge and even begin to dive into that web of the weird to alter the realities and alter the pathways to suit your needs and your goals. She's wonderful at shadow work. Actually, she is one of my favorite goddesses, if not my favorite goddess, to work with in shadow work. Her and Hel are really my go-tos for shadow work anymore in my life. So, yeah, if you need to do shadow work, she's a great goddess to help. One of the benefits to doing shadow work with her is that compassion and loving side. Now, this is a double-edged sword, though, because remember what we said about her determination to make progress. Well, if you're doing the shadow work and you've opened that door and you're committed to doing it, her compassionate side is going to help make that process easier on you. And she's going to have that loving, nurturing, guiding aspect that's really going to help lighten that load in that shadow work. However, if you open that door, you start the process, and then you like, nope, nuh-uh, not doing it, and step back, you're going to find you're going to be laying there one night, and that kind, compassionate goddess isn't the one that comes in the room. Instead, she's going to go grab her drill sergeant hat. She's going to grab her sword and shield, and she's going to come in banging, and she's going to drag you kicking and screaming on an infinity-mile run down Shadow Work Lane until you get that crap done. But hey, you got the work done, and you're stronger for it as soon as you recover from the experience. That's the double-edged sword here, because yes, she can lighten that load. She can make it a much easier process, as long as you continue to do the work. Now, that said, if you are doing the work and something happens that you need to stop, don't just stop. Go to her and tell her, Freyja, this has come up in my life. I'm experiencing this. I need to deal with this so that I can continue my work. Now, at this point, she's going to be understanding of that, because you are doing something that is needed. You're taking care of necessities so you can continue the work. This is drastically different than just stopping. And because of that, she's going to understand, and she will actually help you to take care of this other matter and help you in whatever way she can over here. So again, you and her can continue the work to making you to be the best that you can be in all aspects of your life. Now, I know this is a quick and general overview of her, but I did throw a lot of information at you at the same time. Now, one of the reasons I do like to do my entity videos this way is I encourage you to work with them and get to know them one-on-one and build a friendship with them, an actual working relationship. Don't just put these entities up on a pedestal and blindly pray to them. Actually work with them, get to know them, talk to them, ask them how their day is, tell them how your day's going. Really get to know that personality. I know it might sound silly, but that is the best way to get to know any entity. Just sit down and talk to them in your rituals like you would anyone else. And it's through that building of that friendship and that relationship that you are going to get gains that you cannot even begin to measure when you're working with these entities. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this introduction to Freyja. Again, she's hands down probably my favorite goddess to work with. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you receive notifications anytime we have a new video come out, or anytime we go live in the live streams like we do every Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for Research and Ramblings of a Mage, where I get on there. I actually talk to you about my private practice, what I'm doing in my personal research, my success, my failures. Also, we do have a Patreon now, so if you believe in the work we're doing, you want to help support us so we can keep doing the work we're doing, keep the content coming, so that we can get as much information to the seekers that are seeking and looking to learn and master their lives, their practice, and find their path. Please consider going over there and picking one of the 3 tiers and helping us out so we can continue to do this work and continue more information coming. Also, go over to workingdragonmystic.com. Over there we do have our online classes. We got more classes coming. The Dragon Magic 101 class is already there. The meditation class, which takes you from beginner to more advanced meditation practices, it's there. And we do have a free arcane sight class, so pop over there, sign up for that if you're interested in developing your arcane sight. And we have a lot more content coming in the future, so stay tuned. I'm Drake, and this has been Working Dragon Mystic. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.